Alright, what's up, guys? 大家好. Minasan konnichiwa. This is Ben Parker back with another Chinese-Japanese learning video. Not really a learning video, I should kind of make it clear. I'm not a Chinese-Japanese teacher. Okay, I'm one who has been learning Chinese on YouTube for almost 3 years now. It'll be 3 years in August, and for Japanese, it will have been 1 year in August. So August is a really kind of fun, important month for me because that's the month that I started learning Chinese and Japanese. So it's kind of the 生日快乐 to my Chinese learning studies, and my おめでとうございます to my Japanese studies. Happy birthday, right? So 生日快乐 is happy birthday in Chinese, and お誕生日おめでとうございます is happy birthday in Japanese. Okay? So it's a little fun word for you guys. Happy birthday. Good to learn. In any language, right? Happy birthday to you. But this video is not about birthday wishes in Chinese and Japanese. It's actually about my thoughts, my personal thoughts, on learning the characters, okay? On learning what's called the Hanzi in Chinese and the Kanji in Japanese. So Hanzi means Chinese characters in Chinese, Han meaning the Han people, right? And Zi just means like word or character. And then where Kanji comes from is Japanese characters have two different pronunciations. Well, some there's more than two, but like there's what's called the onyomi and the kunyomi. Okay, and the onyomi is modeled after the Chinese pronunciation of the character, and the kunyomi is modeled after the way the Japanese kind of natively pronounce things or say things, right? So, like for example, can I show you a quick example of this here in the book? This is my kanji book, right? Where is the character for water? Actually, you know what? Well, the one for mountain will be fine. So you'll see here, this means mountain, okay, and it means mountain in Chinese, Japanese, doesn't matter, it means mountain, okay, and in Chinese it's shan, okay. You can see that san in Japanese. This is a Japanese book, by the way, but you'll see san is similar to shan in Chinese, right? So shan is similar to san, right? So that's the onyomi, that's the Chinese pronunciation of it, right? And then yama is the Japanese way of saying mountain. It's like the native Japanese, like non-Chinese influenced way. Yama. So that works. But like the one for water is similar to is a good example as well. But I just can't find what page it's on in here. But anyway, yeah. So I wanted to just kind of quickly share my thoughts on learning Chinese and Japanese characters. Okay, and how hard it is and how afraid you should be of them. And the answer to the question is be not afraid. Don't be afraid. Be very afraid. No, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid of kanji, hanzi. Don't be afraid. Like, they're your friends. They're cool. They're really freaking cool. Really, really freaking cool, actually. So I think rather than being afraid of kanji and hanzi, you should embrace them because it's like one of the cooler parts of it's like one of the cool parts of learning Chinese is that you can actually learn to read Chinese characters. And similarly, with Japanese, I think what makes Japanese really cool, and the reason why I was drawn to Japanese after starting with Chinese, is the fact that Japanese also is brave enough to use the kanji, right? Like, no disrespect to Korean, who's basically abandoned the Chinese characters, not entirely, but basically they have for their written script. I know respect to Korean, like Korean's cool and it's a super interesting language, but like Korean doesn't use the Chinese characters nearly to the same extent as Japanese does. And I think that's what makes Japanese cool, actually, is the kanji, I think. As well as the hiragana and katakana, that part is cool. But so kind of using this as an example here, if you open up my book, my kanji book here, let's look at what the first page says here. Okay, so in Chinese, this is Dongyong Hanzi. And in Japanese, that's Toyo Kanji. Okay? Now, interestingly enough, if you look at this once again, you can hear the onyomi in this, right? So, yong in Chinese, yo. Or just yo in Japanese. But yo and yong both mean to use, right? So, yo is a Japanese way of saying yong. Okay? So, dang yong hanzi is a Chinese way of saying this, and Toyo Kanji is the way of saying this in Japanese. And it just means if you Google translate this for Chinese, it'll say just Chinese characters, or if you do it for Japanese, it'll say Japanese kanji. But what it really means is like frequently used. Dangyong means frequently used. Toyo means frequently used in Japanese, and then Kanji for Japanese, Hanzi for Chinese. So it just means frequently used characters. Chinese characters, frequently used Chinese characters, or frequently used Japanese characters. That's what this means. As you kind of can see here, some kanji are more simple than others, right? So like this one, dong in Chinese or to in Japanese, is a pretty easy one to remember, pretty unique looking. And this one, yong in Chinese, yo in Japanese, which means to use. Similarly, pretty unique looking. You kind of see the little box there, the line coming down through, and the line coming down like a kind of a cross in the middle there. Yeah, it means to use. But really, kind of my kind of thoughts on learning characters, just real briefly, is the more you see a character, the more you're going to recognize it. So I think a lot of people kind of wonder is like, oh, like what, like, are there any tips to learning Chinese characters for learning Chinese? Or for learning Japanese, is there any tips to learning the kanji for Japanese, right? And just so we're clear, once again, Chinese characters, Hanzi and Kanji, it's the same thing. Japanese has decided to keep using Chinese characters in the written language. They have 3 different writing systems. 3, San in Chinese, and interestingly enough, San in Japanese as well. So in Japanese, San means 3. And san also means 3 in Chinese, so it's kind of fun to see those similarities. But there's 3 writing systems in Japanese: hiragana, katakana, and the kanji. And the kanji are the Chinese characters imported from China into the Japanese language. And I don't have time to like go into the history of all that, but basically, like over the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the Chinese were talking with the Japanese, or at least having some sort of contact with them, and Chinese culture China had a huge influence on the culture of like Japan, to the point that Japan started to actually use their writing system, as did Korea, as did Vietnam. A bunch of just Chinese characters kind of like have a hold on like all kind of ancient Asian texts, and then over time, I'm not exactly sure when, but Japan started to introduce their own script because their language is different. It was very different from Chinese, aside from the characters. So they have their own kind of script, hiragana and katakana, which are different alphabetical scripts. And hiragana is used for like native Japanese words, and katakana is used for like loan words from like America, and like actually a lot of Japanese loan words are Dutch origin actually. It's not here nor there. So they started introducing their own scripts, their own alphabetical scripts as well, because they felt they needed them. And then Korea did as well, but Korea kind of went to the next level where they're like, you know what, we're going to screw kanji altogether, basically, or pretty much stop using them. I think they're called Hangul in Korean, but like they're basically like, we're going to stop using like Chinese characters for the most part, except from like newspapers and things. But even that's kind of going away. But Japan, though, Japanese on the other hand, like they're very much still using kanji. You go over to Japan, which I did last summer in August, and holy crap, but there's a lot of kanji. So if you're gonna learn Japanese, you have to learn kanji. And if you're learning Chinese, like you have no choice but to learn Hanzi, to learn the characters. You have no choice, right? Japanese, like there's a little bit of a choice of like, okay, you can kind of put it off for a little bit, and just say, yeah, I'm just going to learn hiragana and katakana and that's it. But like, if you just use hiragana and katakana only in Japanese, you look childish. You just look like you got the education with 3rd grader or whatever, or 2nd grader, and even those grades they learn kanji, but like you just come across kind of like not very like intelligent in the language. And then B, it's a lot harder to read Japanese without the kanji. The kanji kind of breaks it up and kind of the whole thing. So you do need to know kanji for Japanese. But I'm finally going to get to like the point of this video, which is, look, in terms of learning characters, in terms of learning Chinese characters, and reading them, my tip, my advice for learning them is really, really freaking simple, which is just put in the time. Just spend time reading Chinese texts or reading Japanese texts, what have you. And just know that the more you see a character, the more you're going to recognize it. It's that simple. There's a lot of like videos on YouTube of like how to like read characters and like learning character videos and stuff. And those are great, and by all means check those out. Yo-Yo Chinese has got some great stuff, and a lot of other channels do too. But like, the bottom line though is like there is no real shortcut to learning Chinese characters other than just putting in the time and watching and reading Chinese and recognizing the characters. Okay, and obviously one little thing to be aware of with Chinese characters is there are what's called radicals. There's kind of building blocks of characters, and so that kind of provides some clues about to like how the character is pronounced in Chinese and also like what the meaning is. So there are those radicals that are used, and there's kind of building blocks of like how the character is kind of made up basically. But still, at the end of the day, it just comes down to like putting in the hours, putting in the time. The more you see a character, the more you're going to recognize a character. And quickly going back to my kanji book here, as you can kind of see too, the way this book is kind of set up here, and this is the book, it's Reading and Writing Japanese Revised. It's the book. But if you just kind of quickly look at this, these are the numbers, right? So, yeah, ichi, ni, san, shi in Japanese, or yon, right? Or er, sen, si in Chinese, right? This is called ka, ga, shida in Japanese, or xia in Chinese. In Japanese, this is dai, tai, or uki. Big in Chinese, it's pronounced da. And by Chinese, I mean Mandarin, just so we're clear. In Chinese, this is pronounced zhong, middle, and chu, naka in Japanese. And the chu sounds kind of like zhong, so that's the onyumi right there. But as you can see, like it kind of starts with, this book kind of starts with like the more basic kind of kanji, or hanzi. This is the Japanese book, just so we're clear. But once again, the characters are all the same. Interesting, like ko for mouth, right? Ko, ku for Japanese. So, but like as you can kind of see that this book kind of starts with more simpler ones, but something like ko, for example, for mouth, ko for Chinese, or ko for Japanese for mouth, like that one you're gonna like, that one's not gonna take too long to memorize. Or this one, nin, jin, hito for person in Japanese, or ren in Chinese for person. The character for person right there, that's not going to take long to memorize. You're gonna figure that one out really quick, as you will with the character for like da, big in Chinese, or dai, tai, uki in Japanese. Like the character for big, not gonna take long to memorize, right? You know, even like the character for you, for you in Chinese, or u, ame for rain in Japanese. Like you're gonna like those simpler ones. You're gonna kind of like, oh, like kind of looks like rain, like. But then, like maybe something like this one, doku, one person Japanese, that might take a little bit longer to learn, right? Somebody's in towards the back, that's yen, but sometimes towards the back, you know, I don't know, like some of these more complicated characters. I'm trying to find some more, like something like this, for example. Say, I'm not even sure how to say that in Chinese, for example. So I gotta still work on that. So I'm not anywhere near the level I want to get to, but some of those earlier ones that I was showing you that mean big and like mountain and stuff, like sorry, I'm coughing, but those you'll recognize really soon. Those you'll start to see really quickly, and it's sort of a building block. You kind of recognize the simpler ones faster because there's less strokes in them, and then some of the more complicated ones, it just takes longer. And there's other characters as well that have different meanings, that look kind of similar but have very different meanings. And with those ones, again, it's just putting in the time, recognizing them, seeing them enough times. I don't know what the mathematical formula is, how many times you have to see one, and I'm sure it's different for everybody. People learn at different paces, different speeds. But you know, and for some of you, like, hey, it might just take like, you see a character 2, 3, 4 times, you got it. That means person. Other of you, it might take a little bit longer. You may have to see the Zhen character, the Hito character, for person before you recognize it. But eventually you will, right? And then as you start to see more and more characters, it'll just kind of build and build and build and build. So, I'm gonna close this video off now, but the nut of it is, when it comes to learning characters, you just got to put the time in. It's that simple. The more you see a character, the more you're going to recognize it. If there's videos on YouTube that you see that help you that specify in characters in kanji, that you feel are helpful, by all means, watch those videos. There's like cool like animation ones, or like, oh, like this is the one for bird, and this one looks like a bird, kind of. Or there's things that they try to like pictograph it with, like, oh, like imagine the bird actually on here, whatever kind of stuff. So if that kind of stuff, kind of cartoony kind of stuff, helps you learn characters, like by all means go for it. But for me personally, like, it's literally just I gotta see a character an X amount of times, and eventually I'll get it. I'll share a final example before I go. Today I wished a friend a happy birthday in Chinese yesterday, and I said 生日快乐你很帅哦. And it's like shui is water, but like if you say like shui o, like it means like, oh, you're cool, and like it's like kind of a Taiwanese kind of slang kind of thing in Taiwan. Shui o means you're cool. It's like, oh, 生日快乐你很帅哦. And she replied back to me 谢谢啦. And I recognized the 谢谢, thank you characters immediately, because I've seen 谢谢so many times now. Thank you in Chinese, I just know the 谢 character for thanks. But the 谢谢啦, which is like a Taiwanese kind of way of saying thank you, like there's different kind of like accents, like, oh, 谢谢啦, 谢谢oh, blah blah blah. I didn't know that. But the la character, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's the la character, but let me double check that. But I'm pretty sure that's the la character because I've seen it before. And boom, it was 谢谢啦. So at any rate, like that just came from me having studied and seen the characters enough times. So that's it. Just with characters, with kanji, like press forward, do your best, and don't be intimidated by them. Like the very fact that you're even, like if you're actually watching this video at all and have any interest in learning Chinese characters, like that's super cool, super rad. And like I said, it's just putting that time in. And if you get discouraged with characters, like, oh, this is too hard, like, just know that it's not supposed to be easy. It is supposed to be hard, but the hard and the challenge is part of the fun. It's what makes it 非常好玩. It's what makes it really, really fun. It's what makes it 楽しい in Japanese, really fun. So that's it. That's it for my video. I'm going to close it off on this. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, the handle is slamdunk406. I'm going to provide a link in the description below. And if there's any like topics you want me to like discuss with Chinese, or like my Chinese is like 我的中文比我的日文好好. 但是呢日本語ちょっとできます. So my Chinese is way better than my Japanese, but I can speak a little Japanese. I'm getting there. So, but if there's any topics, any questions you have for me that you want me to address in my next video, comment below. Chances are, if you do comment below, you'll be the first one, the only one to comment below on this. So you'll probably get first dibs on like what I'm gonna do next. But yeah. So, and obviously, if you like these videos, if you find it helpful, or if you're looking for somebody to kind of like swap ideas with, or like share the journey of learning Chinese and Japanese with, like definitely like follow my channel, like hit that subscribe button, and just ask me questions, and I'll reply as soon as I can. So yeah, thank you guys very much, and you guys have a good day. On that note, I will say bye-bye, which, funny enough, means goodbye in both Chinese and Japanese. There's zaijian and there's sayonara, but like bye-bye is a very like colloquial way of saying goodbye in Chinese and Japanese. Actually, you'll sound more ironically, like I know you want to say like, oh, I want to use the Chinese zaijian or the Japanese sayonara, but like really, at least among friends, you'll sound more colloquial, or more like natural if you just say bye-bye, than if you use zaijian or sayonara. Just say bye-bye. You just sound more kind of colloquial and like down with the people, so to speak. So on that note, I'll say bye-bye, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.